I observed all these things. I felt in the year 2006 that the downfall of capitalism, and by the downfall of capitalism I mean the downfall of monopoly capitalism, not of free markets. Actually, once monopoly capitalism is gone, then we will have free markets. So in 2006 I felt that, well, it was time to update all my forecasts of the past, and I wrote a new book, which is this one here. It's called, now this is not a pessimistic title, The New Golden Age, but unfortunately the subtitle is there, The Coming Revolution Against Political Corruption and Economic Chaos. This book I wrote at the end of 2006, and frankly speaking, even my editor was very skeptical. She said, you are saying that in about 2-3 years, there is going to be a revolution against the rule of money in politics. That's what my conclusion was, writing in 2006. I said, yes, in about 2-3 years, a revolution would start against the rule of money in politics. But of course, there will be a lot of economic chaos, political corruption. Before that, revolutions are not born overnight. There have to be reasons for it. And then this unpopular war in Iraq would make it more possible that a major shift would occur in the near future. So at that time, Barack Obama was nowhere in sight. I'm writing, this is what I'm doing in 2006. And I'm looking only at my theories, my cycles, and those cycles point out to the year 2009 as a starting point of this revolution. And before that, we have major economic chaos and poverty and unemployment and so on. Well, my publisher went on to publish this book because they had seen what I had said in the past about communism, and they had seen this, the concentration of wealth indeed was very strong now. So they went ahead and published the book. And now they keep calling me every day that they really don't believe, still don't believe the things that I wrote in the book are right before our eyes. I think a revolution is coming. Mr. Obama is going to bring about this revolution. And this is a revolution. By revolution, I mean the revolution is against the rule of money in politics, not a small thing, not just changing the economy or tinkering with certain laws. No, we're talking about a major overhaul of the Constitution in which the rule of money in politics would disappear. But let's now look at what's going on right now. What's the major cause of all these troubles that we are in at this point? Before I wrote this book, The New Golden Age, a year before that, I wrote another book called Greenspan's Fraud. Now you can imagine how well that title went with my colleagues everywhere in the United States and the rest of the world. At that time, Alan Greenspan was still the Federal Reserve Chairman. And he was still well respected all over the world, even though there had been a stock market crash in 2001. He was still on top of his profession and very well respected. And here I wrote this book, Greenspan's Fraud. And in the book I wrote, I look at his theories, I look at all the data, historical data. His theories conflict with all the data, all the claims he's making. All he's doing is creating debt in society to create superficial prosperity. And this debt is going to come back to haunt us, not in the distant future, but in the very near future. So I looked at a lot of things that Greenspan had done over his lifetime, over his tenure as the government policymaker and advisor, and I found he had done a lot of misleading things, and yet he was so well respected in society. I felt that I had to select a really strong title to indicate what he has really done. And so I called it Greenspan's Fraud. And just 2 weeks ago, CNN selected Greenspan as the major culprit among the top 10 culprits for the current debacle. So let's see what Greenspan was doing and why he had to do this. Why he had to create debt in society. And that's where I will start out now in explaining macroeconomics. People think economics is very difficult. Economics is very tough. No, it's not. It's actually very simple. And after you have seen this, looked at this theory, you will be surprised how easy it is to explain what is going on in society today. Everything that you find that has happened over the past 30 years can be explained by one simple theory, and that's the wage productivity gap theory. So let's look at that. All right. First, non-controversial statement. Economic balance and a healthy economy require that supply equals demand. Very simple. If supply is not equal to demand, you have problems. If there is too much supply and not enough demand, there will be overproduction. That's what's happening right now. There's overproduction and people are being laid off. This is supply, and these are supply and demand for society as a whole, not just one industry. So supply has to be equal to demand for a healthy economy. All right, now the main source of supply, what is that? Is productivity, labor productivity. What you produce, workers produce, laborers produce, their productivity is a source of production, source of output. The main source of productivity is supply. The main source of demand are people's real wages. What are real wages? The purchasing power of your salary is the real wage. So the main source of supply is productivity. The main source of demand are people's real wages. All right. Because of investment in new technology, productivity rises over time. Every year productivity goes up, and especially nowadays when we have computers, the internet, new high technology, productivity is rising over time. So that supply growth, supply is growing every year because productivity is rising every year, supply is rising every year. So supply growth will be equal to demand growth when only if productivity growth equals real wage growth. Simple enough. Only if productivity growth is equal to the real wage growth, only then supply and demand will remain equal and the economy will stay healthy. That's the crux of the whole situation. What has been happening though? But the US real wage has been stagnant or even falling. See, that's the problem. Productivity is rising fast, but the real wage is either stagnant or falling. And I used to point that out 20 years ago, and economists would uh,